Our crimes made sense. Ain't got no money, rob somebody with some money.
Hey, y'all don't want to admit it, but black folks just as crazy as white folks. Mike Tyson, he's like 3 crazy people, man.
Mike sure is
Trent,
crazy.
hold on now. He had Cherokee or something. Don't put him in there with us.
I want some perfection.
None of the women in the film are ornaments. None of the women in Prince's life are ornaments, and I just want to make that clear to the public.
I think I'm gonna need a drink.
I didn't write Purple Rain. Someone else did. And it was a story, a fictional story. It should be perceived that way. Violence is something that happens in everyday life, and we were only telling a story. I don't think anything we did was unnecessary. Sometimes for the sake of humor, we may have went overboard, and if that was the case, then I'm sorry, but it was not the intention.
You know, a lot of the questions from brothers was, man, is he gay? No, not that I know of.
The man ain't gay. You know, Prince, as a side note, he's got the hottest women you'd ever see. He had some super hot women that came through. The hottest, in my opinion, was Anna. I only met her once, and that song Anastasia is about her, and she's super hot. I don't even know who she is. But, you know, then Kim Basinger, Carmen Electra, Diamond and Pearl, the 2 chicks in that video Cream. I remember getting high with either Diamond or Pearl, I forget which one it was. You know, I saw Carmen a lot during those years, and, you know, just super fine women.
I can name names. Rosanda. Him and Chili were real close. They would go to Chili, go pick her up, and bring her to the club, which was Glam Slam. So I would say, well, why not Chili instead of Carmen? Chili's too little. Now, when it came to females, he had to be the pickiest dude on the planet. Now, you've seen what he's had, right? You ain't never seen what he turned down. I would be one of the dudes that would go get him. Like, he would be like, hey, you see her? And she'd be like the baddest thing you ever seen in your life. You would say, she blinks her eyes too much.
Walking down to go in the kitchen to get something, I'm like, Tara's here, Maite's here, Jill's here, Ingrid's around the corner, Sheila E. can bust in the door and just tell everybody, go sit the fuck down whenever she feel like it. He's kicking it with her. He got some other girl from someplace. Like, there's so many women. Prince had that control over women mentality. And Prince said in an interview,
James Brown played a big influence on my style. When I was about 10 years old, my stepdad put me on the stage with him, and I danced a little bit until the bodyguard took me off. The reason why I like James Brown so much is on my way backstage, on my way out, I saw some of the finest dancing girls I've ever seen in my life. And I think in that respect, he influenced me by his control over his group, dancing girls, his apples, and his oranges.
he liked the fact that James Brown had so much control over the females that danced for him, and he could tell them what to do, what to wear, and that he had so much power over them. The control factor.
I don't really care so much what people say about me. It usually is a reflection of who they are.
The Robin Powers, Robin, you know, she was a cute girl. She had a banging ass body and she could dance.
We got into an argument in the making of my album because Prince tried to give me a lot of songs. I did not like them once I heard them. Recorded, Prince wanted me to do it Prince's way and did not help me. I asked for help. I went to Prince and I said, can some of your band members help us put our show together? No. I went to different people in the band, like, can y'all help me? They were like, Prince told us not to help you with nothing. Prince did not like the fact that I wasn't doing the songs that we were producing. Maite was there. I didn't know what the vision was for Maite and why Maite was there. Somebody told Jill Jones that she was 16.
I was 17 and a half. Prince got on the phone with Daddy and told him, she'll be safe. You can trust me. He and Mama knew the opportunity to work with Prince could be a game changer for my career. They drew up a power of attorney document, making Prince my legal guardian for 6 months.
I grew up doing it. I started at 3. There was no audition. I gave him a videotape of my dancing.
don't think Maite knows this. I was with Prince in Spain when Maite's mother gave Prince the VHS tape.
Ladies and gentlemen, the mystical, magical 8-year-old Princess Maite.
But you didn't give him a tape at the time, you know, that was a no-no. We gave him a video of her back when we was in Germany. Her mom had gave us a tape to show the Prince.
Prince comes into the green room with this VHS tape. Robin, I got to show you something.
We gave him that tape and then we watched the video or whatever.
We're watching the playback of the concert on the monitor. He pops in this VHS tape and there's this little girl dancing on That's Incredible.
It was just a tape of her when she was like, I want to say they said she was 9 or 11 or whatever.
I'm looking at the tape and then she gets older and it's Maite.
And she was doing her little belly dance thing on this tape or whatever. You could see him watching that video. And she's older at that point now.
She's belly dancing. She's got the sword. And I'm like, wow. Prince says to me, what should I do with her? And I said, bring her to Minneapolis. Put her on stage. Put her in your bed. Mind you, I don't know. She's 16 years old.
I would definitely say there was a love there quickly. I mean, I don't think he could have thought her up when he started having those feelings for her.
I'm there. There's an 18-year-old Carmen Electra. There's a 16-year-old Maite. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was frustrated. I knew he was carrying on with Carmen. We didn't discuss it.
Walking to Paisley's like, is this Paisley Park or Carmen Park? Because there were a lot of photos of her.
Prince said to me, she's a great dancer and she's a rapper. And I said, she's a rapper? And he goes, no, she's a rapper and she's really good at it.
She was rapping and singing, doing some things, and it was awesome.
When you're in Prince's world, you don't have to figure out what you want to do. He's really there to figure out for you.
He changed her name to Carmen Electra. He just came up with a great name and it stuck. She was very electric, electrifying when she danced, the energy, it made sense.
Definitely felt like Cinderella, you know, had new, dresses to wear every day and, someone to do my hair every other day and limos.
I was on the soundstage for every rehearsal. It was fun. I never woke up saying, oh God, we gotta go to rehearsal. In the studio, Carmen Electra was working on an album.
This is the biggest studio out there. We have different isolated rooms for drums and percussion and piano.
When we were cutting Carmen's album and doing one of the songs, Carmen wasn't getting where we needed her to be. I just said, stop, let's stop for a second. I said, okay, everybody out of the studio. Prince liked candles, and I said, let's get the candles going. I went in the studio and we actually looked at each other and cut together. We just added a different ambiance. You get that feed off of each other. So we cut it like that, and then we were trying to get her to where we needed her to be on that song.
That's one thing that's truly missing today in music. People playing with each other. So that's one good thing about that's happening out here is the vibe is that we all get to collaborate and get in there and just put the headsets on and vibe off each other. She's beautiful, yeah. What I like most about working in the studio is when it's fast. She was very fast. A couple takes and we were out of there. And when you first saw her, you didn't think she would be this low. This rapper could really pull it off, but she was funky. It's not your typical type of thing. I think people are going to really be surprised by her. What about the way she looks? She fine. She all that. You know what I'm saying?
And rehearsals for the tour were in full swing.
I would be sitting in rehearsal. He had this obsession with Aunt Esther. He would have her up on a screen, like at rehearsals, him pushing sample buttons of her saying, hold it, Fred. It was hilarious.
If we're rehearsing, it's a different attitude than when you're in the studio. It was a different kind of focus. Exhibition versus creation. We were going to deal with him every day, no matter what, unless he was out of town or something.
And before he left, he suggested that Carmen and I hang out while he was gone. Prince went to LA for a few days to produce something for someone.
Paisley Park, the production facility, she was built to produce art, to produce work, to produce music, as opposed to it being a facility that was trying to massage his needs and desires and stuff.
In LA, I received some stuff he had done from Paisley Park.
That now, on your new album, Prince has actually collaborated on 4 of the tracks.
Yeah.
Did he ring you up?
No, I rang him up. We didn't actually talk until I got to Paisley Park.
How can I put this delicately? Prince is meant to get quite involved with a lot of the people that he works with.
I don't know about anyone else. I mean, we're artists, so, we relate on a certain level. And it's good relationship, beautiful.
I actually did not go in the studio and record with him. I left him with some of my lyrics. Then I went home, and he went in the studio and worked on adding music to some of the musicians that worked with him, played on some stuff, and then I went in the studio and finished. I really didn't have the opportunity to actually collaborate with him in person, but I love what came from it.
Singer Tevin Campbell has already appeared on Quincy Jones' Grammy-winning Back on the Block album and in the otherwise disappointing Prince film Graffiti Bridge.
This song you just heard is on the Prince Graffiti Bridge soundtrack, and it's a smoking track. Man, have you hung out with Prince?
Yeah, I hung out with him, yesterday at rehearsal.
Yeah.
We sat in the car and listened to some music, and when I recorded Round Around, I hang out with him a lot because I made the movie and everything.
Yeah, you look good, man. I saw the video. I was so happy to see you in the suit and everything. Because, you always fear that with Prince, booty would be hanging out of their pants or something like that.
After Benny Medina introduced me to Prince and I did Graffiti Bridge, Round and Round, he wanted to be on the first album. I remember that. And Warner Brothers with me.
Prince's music, incredible. He wrote a song for me, and then I got to work with him.
Prince was working on a song with Paula Abdul when we were at Larrabee. She walked into the studio Prince was using, but he wasn't there, and I was in there doing something. And I thought she sucked. I mean, I thought musically that she just fucking blew. She can't sing to save her ass. And I just thought she was sort of a ridiculous pop icon, So I kind of had this weird smirk on my face. I sort of got the feeling she picked up on it because she kind of turned on her heel and stormed out.
If you go back and you look at music, you'll see a big change when MTV came into the business, when it became merely bottom line. It's all real quick. The artist turnover rate is really fast. That sort of mentality is king now. It's not about substance.
What? Nah, can't be.
In defense of the industry, there was a business model that had to be followed in order to sell records. The music is, from an artistic standpoint, it's a beautiful thing, but at the end of the day, it's a product, and you have to figure out a way to sell that product to the masses.
Prince was gone out of town, and we hadn't quite figured out my role, so I had a lot of downtime. Carmen hit me up to go see a movie. She was 19, a year older than me. She picked me up in Prince's black-on-black Jeep, and as we drove to the movie theater, she said, "Every time I get in this car, people honk at me. Maybe it's because your brights are on." I reached over and clicked the headlights to low beam, and she giggled. "Oh my God, I was wondering what that was." We both got a huge laugh out of that and ended up having a great time. After the movies, we drank tea in my apartment. I hadn't realized that she and Prince had a thing. When he called me later that evening, I asked him, "Are you dating Carmen?" No, she has a crush on me. One could easily take a very cynical view of the way he was with women.
People speculate on your personal life all the time anyway, so I just think it's important to keep my private life private and my public persona more into music.
He did not want to work with no ugly women, okay? Because when I first came there, Carmen Electra, her real name was Ingrid. I didn't appreciate the rap, but she was gorgeous and she was sweet. Prince knew that children was truthful, so he puts the CD in my hand. "I want you to go home and listen to this and tell me what you think." When I put it in, I was like, "Oh man, this is bad." And I was like, "Mom, can I not go with you to rehearsal tomorrow?" She was like, "Just tell him. He gave it to you because he wants to know." And I don't know how to tell him, like, this is horrible.
I was working on Ingrid Chavez, which actually had a buzz in Europe. So we set up a promo tour for her in Europe that I actually went with her. We did the whole promo thing with, TV shows and radio and with the label reps in every European country. And it was very well received. I was working on Ingrid and trying to find the market for it because it was admittedly an odd record, but it was a sexy record that really, there was kind of a place for it. And again, it was a record I was handed. I didn't produce that, but he signed a girlfriend and told her to make a record. But one day he came in the office and he looked at me and he says, I'll sell more Carmen Electra records than you will Ingrid Chavez. Ingrid was your girlfriend. Okay, let's don't get this twisted. And at that point, I knew my days were numbered, and the album actually made a little noise over there, just as the Jill Jones record had a couple of years before. We were in discussions with Jill about a second album.
People were like, oh, they had disagreements on the second album. And yeah, there were disagreements because
she had taken on outside management, but she had real solid management and some good creative ideas. Thought we could have made a good second album with Jill that would have been more about who she really was as an artist.
This was around 1990. I was in my attorney's office. My attorney was Don Passman. He had said, I don't want you to sign this. And he goes, look, we're best friends. If you ever want to leave, just ask me. I would never hold you to something like that. And that's the only reason I signed it. He didn't keep that promise.
And I had 3 more years on my contract with Prince, and he wouldn't let me out. And he wasn't picking up my options either. Spent a lot of time trying to fight this and have attorneys, and it was a nightmare. And then finally I was like, I'm just going to wait this out. It just ended. He was in the middle of a defamation lawsuit with Steve Farnolli.
And then, you know, putting the team together to bring that album to true fruition. I hired 2 people to work this album for us at radio. Prince's former manager, Bob Cavallo. Bob was a genius. He would work the record for us on the West Coast. And on the East Coast, we hired Frank DeLeo, Michael Jackson's former manager, for the Diamonds and Pearls album. It's like, let's run this thing as a business. And if the business works, it's going to allow you to do the things that you want to do. In defense of Warner's, I understood what their concerns were. There was a business model that had to be followed in order to sell records. And you have to figure out a way to get that, not just get the product out to the masses, but to sell that product to the masses. And so something new had to happen. Diamonds and Pearls was that new thing that happened.
And we're up to the #1 song in the USA on Casey's Top 40, and it's by a superstar who, as a teenager, often slept on the floor of a recording studio. It all happened in his hometown of Minneapolis at a studio called Moon Sound. Back in 1976, for about $35 an hour, any aspiring musician could go in there to record a few of his songs. One such musician who kept showing up was this 17-year-old teenager with a lot of dreams. Studio owner Chris Moon says he'd show up with a chocolate shake in his hand, sipping out of the straw. He looked pretty tame. And then he'd pick up an instrument, and that was it. It was all over. Well, Chris was a songwriter on the side, and he was looking for someone to collaborate with. He was so impressed by this teenager that he gave him a set of keys to the studio. Chris says, quote, he'd stay the whole weekend, sleep on the studio floor. I wrote down directions on how to operate the equipment so he'd just follow a little chart. You know, press this button to record and this button to play back. Unquote. Chris did finally get around to writing a song with a young man who made his weekend home on the studio floor, and that song later turned out to be this musician's first chart single. It was called Soft and Wet. It didn't manage to crack the top 40, but it was a start. The start of a spectacular career that has brought this superstar 18 top 10s, including 8 #1s. These days, that superstar no longer sleeps on the floor of anyone's studio. He owns his own studio, a $10 million Minneapolis facility called Paisley Park. He makes films there, videos, and he makes music. Music like the song that for the second week in a row is the biggest hit in the land. The #1 song in the USA on Casey's Top 40 is Diamonds and Pearls by Prince. There it is, the #1 song in the USA on Casey's Top 40 for the second straight week. Diamonds and Pearls by Prince and the New Power Generation.
Touring was part of the business model that we needed to run.
It was just like, it's wicked night. Yeah, the Diamonds and Pearls are incredible.
It is, because over there you can do blues, from country to blues to R&B to hip-hop, all in the same concert. They down with it, yeah.
Yeah, in Europe. Prince was so beloved over there. Nobody ever said one negative thing about the music. We didn't actually tour the United States when Diamonds and Pearls came out.
So you definitely feel appreciated there, yeah.
I had a chance to go on tour. I'm in Europe. I opened up for him on the Diamonds and Pearls tour in Europe. All of a sudden I had my own band.
Now, you've gotten hired for the Diamonds and Pearls tour. What do you think made you get the job? I can imagine that must have been an incredible competition.
My belly dancing. I mix ballet with belly dancing and hip-hop, and it's just my style of dancing that nobody does.
You know, basically before we went on tour, he told me, you have to do all of your vocals and dance full out.
Cameron, she asked, how do I get him to get me some music? If you have sex with him, you ain't gonna get that out. Do not give up the draws. She's like, well, that's not what I'm trying to do. I said, I understand that. So fast forward, he was writing this album for her, which he did, and he was bringing her out on the road with us.